And they said, oh yes, we've noticed all the time. And he shares some examples of a man who was ill, he got a new heart, he was in his 50s, and when he recuperated, he's down in his garage with electric guitar, and his teenage kids thought Dad's lost it, they've done something to him, and they did some research and found that he got an 18-year-old's heart. Another man in his 50s got a new heart, and he said, the person who had my heart must have been in charge of a lot of power, and he did some homework, and he was a train driver. And forgive me, but this is in the book, a lady got a new heart, and when she recuperated, the husband noted that she had a little bit more energy at night time, a bit more involved in nighttime activities with him, and they did some homework, and she got the heart of a prostitute who had died on the street. The most overwhelming one was this one. A 12-year-old girl was murdered, and her parents gave permission for her heart to be shared with somebody else and went to another 12-year-old girl. When she recuperated, she was so able to give a clear description of the murder that they found him and put him in jail. And the man, this author says, don't underestimate your heart, listen to your heart. Let's talk about the brain. When it comes to love and romance, it's brain stuff, and we've got bit of a list here of the parts of the brain. We won't study them all together, but prefrontal cortex, this part of your brain, we mentioned it's the CEO of your brain. Anterior cingulate gyrate, why do they come up with these names, eh? Deep limbic system, the basal ganglia, temporal lobes, ventral tegmental area, and the caudate nucleus. Daniel Amen, the brain in love. Each of these systems interacts with other areas of the brain to produce the effective or not so effective human behaviour. So each of these parts, and particularly there's a part we're going to come to just in a jiff, it's called the amygdala. It's the Latin word for almond. It's about the size of an almond, right down in the limbic system in the central part of your brain. That's your emotional CEO part of your brain. It has another name, fear central, but it has a huge impact on relationships. And part of the brain. Okay, that's the hardware. What about the software of the brain, the hormones? We know that hormones play a huge role, and we know about testosterone. We'll come to that one just, Jeff. We know about testosterone, the major male sex hormone that shaped me into the massive man that I am. I must have got a slow portion, I think. Testosterone is the hormone that drives us to meet, mate, and procreate. Ladies, you have some testosterone, but you especially have estrogen, which shapes you to being the beautiful people that you are, and they play a key role. But there's also a number of other key hormones, vasopressin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, oxytocin, serotonin, they all play a key role. Here's one, oxytocin, known as the love hormone. Do you know the other name for oxytocin? Cuddle hormone. Ladies, you have more oxytocin in your bloodstream than men, right? It's who you are. It's an attachment hormone. It's a love hormone. Has a powerful way of building attachments in relationships. It's a love hormone. And it provokes feelings of contentment, calmness, and security, which are often associated with mate bonding. And this part of vasopressin is linked to behaviour that produces long-term monogamous relationships. The differences in behaviour associated with the actions of the two hormones may explain why passionate love fades as attachment grows. Let me just talk a bit about this. The research is suggesting that the hormones that shape us or push us into and help us build a relationship actually change. And then between about 6 months and 2 years after we initially fall in love, that euphoric state where we just go crazy and all we think about is our partner, that's all we've seen, we're just in this, I'm in love, and it just drives us, which is wonderful. But we can't sustain that, right? We can't sustain that level of drive. And there's a shift. The research shows that there's a shift in our brains, in the hormones, and vasopressin kicks in to start heading us towards a long-term committed relationship. I think it's fabulous. So it raises in one low and it drives us into a relationship. Let's have a look at this next statement. Many theories of love propose that there is an inevitable change over time from passionate love to what is typically called companionate love or compassionate love. Love that is deep but is not as euphoric as that experienced during the early stages of romance. That does not, however, mean that the spark of romance is quenched for long married couples. Good news, if you were married here for quite a few years, I'm up to 48, it's scary, it's wonderful. It's neat, we don't lose that joy of relationship. But there's a switch, and I think it's just significant for relationships. Let's have a look at this next one. A lot of unnecessary divorces and relationship breakups can occur during this time because people mistake the lack of intensity and euphoria as a sign that they've fallen out of love. Also, because individuals may feel a withdrawal from the chemicals of infatuation, they may look for other sex partners, alcohol, or or other substances to try to recreate the high. Understanding this phenomenon in advance can really help partners anticipate this stage and help them move into the next phase of trust and commitment where true love really begins. Isn't that exciting? That's kind of cool. So we can say to our teenagers and into youth, hang in there, guys. This drive for love is all very exciting, but it'll settle, and you'll survive, and you'll make it through, and you start building a long-term relationship. And I think that's so cool, because what happens is when that euphoric state of I'm in love starts to fade, they think, oh, gee, I'm falling out of love. So they, as it suggests, find a new partner to sort of get it going again. But no, it's the brain saying, let's survive. Let's look at the triangular theory. As you can see, we're just doing little pieces of jigsaw here. This is Robert Sternberg's triangular theory of love. It's well known. I've met Robert Sternberg. He was at Tufts University for a while, then he moved. Lovely guy. Every day he came to lectures, he would have a different coloured tie. But he suggests that there's these three components of love. And I recommend this model to you. If someone says, what's love? You can say, yes, it's this. It's intimacy, commitment, and passion. What do we mean by intimacy? I think I've got a next slide here. Okay, intimacy refers to feelings of closeness, connectedness, and bondedness in loving relationships. Now, sometimes when we think of intimacy, we think of sexual relationship. That's only part of it. When we know somebody really well, get to know them deeply, we're talking about intimacy, that broad sense of, just deep sense of connection. That's what he means by intimacy. And then passion refers to the drives that lead to romance, physical attraction, sexual consummation, and related phenomena in loving relationships. So without passion, there's no fire, and that's what fires us up. And then finally, commitment. A decision means different things in the short and long term. In the short term, it refers to the decision that one loves a certain other, and in the long term, it refers to one's commitment to maintain that love. So when you think about that, I think that's a neat little package of love. So if you just have intimacy with somebody, that is, again, a deep sense of liking, you like this person, that's really what we're talking about. You like this person. And you've got to know them very well, but there's no passion and there's no lifelong commitment, right? So you like that person. Passion is most probably what we generally refer as infatuation, where you've got the hots for somebody. You know, there's a lot of heat in this relationship, but there may be no intimacy. You don't know each other well, and there's no commitment. So, it can be this short fling with somebody. We call it love, but really, it's just what we might call infatuation. And then commitment decision. I can make a commitment to somebody. A man down the street, I'll make a commitment out of my Christian sense of love to be there for him, to support him, to help him, etc. But there's no passion, right? And there's no intimacy in that real sense. And so we have a real commitment. When we put them all together, we have a deeper picture of love. So just intimacy is liking, just passion, infatuation, and just commitment, what he called empty love, which I think is not a real good phrase, but empty love. Romantic love is passion and intimacy. Companionate love is intimacy and commitment. Fatuous love, passion and a bit of commitment, but consummate love, passion, intimacy and commitment. So I commend that little model to you. And when you think about a love relationship, think about those three. All right, let's do another picture in it's one of my good friends. Another jigsaw piece, all right, personality. We're all so different, aren't we? We're all so incredibly different. And for many years, we would refer to personality as, have you heard the terms sanguine, choleric, those terms? Generally not used quite so much now. We talk about the big five. And personality is generally called, or referred to now, in the terms of the big five, and here they are. And we won't spend a lot of time. I just want to paint this little picture for you. We've got a lot of ground to cover. Openness is appreciation for a variety of experience. So if I'm on the openness continuum scale over here, I just love variety of experience. I'm always searching for new things to do, and I just love that. But if I'm over this side, I would be somewhat closed. I'm kind of just happy with regular and what's just safe and kind of secure over here. Conscientiousness is planning ahead rather than being spontaneous. So that's a continuum we can understand. So again, if I'm over here, I'll just, whatever the spur of the moment. What are you doing? Don't know, but let's go and try something. I'm very open, spontaneous. Over here, my day's plan. And I have a very good friend of mine who is staggering. He wouldn't what I call spontaneous. I said, have you got a date free where you can do something? He gets out his calendar. Seriously, it's all typed in. He was an accountant. He's retired now, but serious. Doctor's appointment, 8:10, and everything is spelled out. It's phenomenal, and this calendar rules his life, and I feel like going, and that's him. That's how he survives. And he says to me, Treff, when can we meet? And I'll say, I don't know, Thursday, okay? Yeah, but what time? I don't know. I'll give you a call. That's who he is. Extroversion involves going out with friends and being energetic, and we all know the extroversion person. I remember there was a young girl in a church group many years ago that I was caring for this church, and she was really on the extreme of this continuum extroversion. And if I saw her walking down the street and I was walking on the street, I would dart into the nearest shop, hoping it wasn't a pub or a lingerie shop, because if she saw me, she'd say, "Oh, and she'd run down the street and hug me, and she was just out there. She was a lovely kid, but out there. And then you've got the people who kind of, walk into a room and sort of hide in a corner. Extroverts are energized by people. Introverts are energized by quiet times, and we're all on a continuum there somewhere, and it's kind of fun. Agreeableness, as it says, being agreeable or disagreeable. Neuroticism, that's an unfortunate term, neuroticism, but it refers to worrying or being vulnerable, and as opposed to being relaxed and non-anxious. So you can imagine that someone who is very extrovert marries